and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. And today I am going to be talking all about eyeshadow palettes. Eyeshadow palettes are my absolute favorite part about makeup. I love doing eyeshadow. I think it's so fun and it's so relaxing, and I'm a little bit of a hoarder when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. So I saw this tag going around YouTube, and it was started by Allie and Samantha March, if I'm not mistaken. So I will link their videos down below if you want to check their videos out. So basically what they did was they came up with a bunch of questions, categories, and I went through and I pulled the palettes that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to jump right into it. Okay, so the first one is to show your newest palette. And this is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. So I'll pop a picture up right here of what my eye look like with this. This is the Midas Cosmetic Smoky Glow palette. If you don't know, Smoky Glow is a YouTuber. Her name is Hannah, and she collabed with Midas Cosmetics to do this palette. And this is right up my alley. This is a pink, purple, glittery color story, and I absolutely love it. I had so much fun playing with this today, and I'll have this link down below as well. She has a coupon code. I'll have that linked below, and I believe it's 20% off, so I'll have that link below. So this is my newest palette. Like I said, I just played with it for the first time today, and I really enjoyed it. It's so much fun, and the packaging's really pretty too. The next one is to show my oldest palette. I did a eyeshadow declutter not too long ago. If you want to watch it, I'll have it linked down below. And I did get rid of some palettes, but I think my oldest palette that I still have in my collection is my Too Faced I Want Candy palette. This is a collaboration they did with Kandee Johnson. I believe this is from 2017. And that's what that looks like. So in case you didn't know, every single makeup item that you buy is going to have this little symbol on it, this little like container, and this says 12M, if you can see that. So that means it's good for 12 months before it goes bad. I've had this for probably at least 4 years, and it's still like, it doesn't smell weird, and like it's still, yeah, the colors are still fine. Nothing's funky about it, and I really have always loved this palette. So I'm still gonna hang on to this even though it's very old. But yeah, this is my oldest palette that I have in my collection. Okay, so the next thing it asked for is for me to show my most expensive palette. And this kind of threw me for a loop. So I immediately went for my Jeffree Star palettes, and I thought that my Bloodlust palette was going to be my most expensive one. And let me grab it real quick. I thought my Bloodlust was going to be my most expensive just based off of the packaging. This, if I'm not mistaken, this is $54. And I pulled this out and I was for sure, but when I double checked, actually, it turns out that my Jawbreaker palette from Jeffree Star is my most expensive palette, and this one is $58, which really surprised me considering this is just cardboard packaging and there's nothing like, you know, crazy or special about it. So this is my most expensive palette. Like I said, this was $58, and this is what it looks like on the inside. So this is both my most colorful palette and my most expensive palette. Okay, so now it wants me to show my most affordable palette, and this is also my smallest palette. So I don't know if you could call this a palette, but this is my little quad from e.l.f. This is the Bite Side Eyeshadow palette in the shade Cream and Sugar. This was $3. I got it at Ulta. And these are actually really, really nice. They have a bunch of different color stories. This one was just like the plain, you know, very neutral. They have like a green one. They have a purpley one. These are really nice shadows if you just, you know, want something very affordable and really good quality as well. So yeah, that is my smallest and most affordable palette that I own. All right, now for my everyday palette. My Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance is my go-to everyday palette. This never lets me down. The formula, the ABH formula is so good. I definitely recommend them if you haven't tried it. I've had this for a few years and it still performs beautifully. The colors are so soft and so blendable and so creamy, and you can pretty much do any sort of neutral look with this. So it is my most used everyday palette. So now we're going to move on to my biggest palette. I would say this one isn't like my biggest in terms of like, you know, like width. But this is the one that's the biggest pain to store, and it is my Game of Thrones Urban Decay eyeshadow palette. This is heavy and this is just like a pain. So the actual eyeshadow component pulls out right here, and so that's the eyeshadow palette, but it comes out of here, so you have to keep it in here, and then this opens up for no reason other than it being a collector's item, and then a little throne pops out. So this is definitely my biggest palette just because it's like so extra and there's so many components to it and it's like unnecessarily big. But again, it's, to me, this is not really, I don't use this as an eyeshadow palette. This is strictly a collector's item. I don't remember the last time I actually pulled these out and used the colors in here. I just like to have it displayed because I do love Game of Thrones, and this is my little homage to that. So now it wants me to show a palette that has the best memory attached to it. And this was kind of hard for me because, to be honest, I don't look at a palette and like have, you know, like some sort of sentimental memory. But then I did remember my Blue Blood palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics has the most, like if I had to pick a palette that had some sort of memorable moment attached to it, it would be my Blue Blood palette. When I ordered this, I was actually on a bachelorette trip for my friend, and we were in the middle of the mountains in Tennessee, and we were on our way ziplining. I can't remember if we were going ziplining or if we were on our way back from ziplining. And we were basically in the middle of the mountains and I couldn't get cell phone reception. And I remember we stopped at like this little like barbecue joint, like literally in the middle of nowhere. It was like this barbecue place just in the middle of nowhere. And I was walking around in the fields trying to get internet access so I could get this when it launched. And somehow, some way, I got my internet access and I was able to order this, but I was very concerned about this that day that I was going to be able to get it. So that's just kind of like a fun memory that I have attached to my Blue Blood palette from Jeffree Star. And this is what it looks like on the inside. Shocking, it's blue, I know. Who would have thought? Okay, so now it wants me to show a palette that I think is worth the hype, and we're going to throw it back to my Too Faced, what's this called? My Too Faced my Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This is pretty old, and my husband actually bought this for me years ago, and this is what it looks like. I really love this palette. It got so much hype when it came out, and I still think people are using it, and it still smells like peaches, and this is such a fun palette. It's so beautiful, and yeah, I think it definitely was worth the hype that it had around it, and you can still snag it, and like I said, I think it's still a beautiful color story today, and yeah, worth the hype. So a palette that's not worth the hype, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this. If you love this palette and it works for you, I'm so happy for you, but I can't get on board with it, and it is the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. And in theory, like, it's a pretty palette. This is what it looks like. It's so beautiful, but I just can't get it to work for me. I'm so uninspired by these colors. I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'm still gonna try to love this and learn to love this, but every time I use it, I'm just like, like I don't see the hype around it and why everyone says, you know, the colors blend so well and blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm still gonna try to kind of play with it and see if my feelings change. I've only used this a handful of times, so, you know, take my opinion with a grain of salt. So yeah, this is something that I just didn't think was worth the hype. We're going to look at my favorite palette from my favorite brand. So my favorite cosmetic brand is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I think everything they put out is really good quality, and I haven't tried a product yet that I haven't liked. And so my favorite palette from that brand is my Conspiracy palette. This is one that he did with Shane Dawson. And I love this palette, one, because it was so fun when this was launching. So if you don't know, Shane Dawson is a YouTuber and he did a whole series with Jeffree Star on this palette. We got to see the very beginning stages of how this palette was made, picking shades, designing the logos for the palette shades. We got to go behind the scenes with him on the palette names, and it was just really fun and gave us like a behind the scenes look of what goes into making a palette, and it was just so fun to watch. And so when this came out, it was a big deal and it was really exciting. And also this color story is so different and so fun. This is so unique in my collection, and I really love this palette. And if you were thinking about picking one up from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, I would definitely recommend the Conspiracy palette. So I might just not be reading this correctly, but I could have sworn there was a question asking for your most unique palette, but I don't see that. I'm looking at my list and I don't see that right now. So I'm just gonna throw this in there, my most unique palette. I pulled two. So my palette with the most unique color story is probably my Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette. The packaging is so pretty on this, it looks like a little spell book, but the color story in here is so unique to me. There's like purples and greens, and it's very like cool toned, and there's some neutrals in there, and I just think the color story is really unique. I don't have another palette that utilizes these colors all in one. My most unique palette, just in terms of like packaging and just like creativity, is from Glamlight Cosmetics, and this is the hamburger palette, and this is how it came in its package. And I have kept it in this little paper because I think it's so cute. So it comes in here like a little burger. And it's literally a hamburger palette. And when you open it up, that's what it looks like. It's so adorable, and the shade names are just like so cute. There's pickles, mustard, bacon, sweet potato fries, tomatoes, Thousand Island dressing, caramelized onions. Like, it's everything that you would like find as like toppings on a burger, and I just think it's so cute and so creative, and definitely probably the most unique palette that I have in my collection. Okay, so that is it for the palette tag for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any holy grail palettes that you love listed down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you feel so inclined to do so. I really appreciate having you here. I will have my social media links down below. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!